If you've been dreaming about a place where life feels a little more intentional, discover the Canopy in Sebastopol by City Ventures. This new community offers solar-powered homes, surrounded by mature trees, nature preserves, and walking trails, with a vibrant local downtown, renowned wineries, and the Bay Area all within easy reach. Enjoy low-maintenance living, refined design, and built-in eco-friendly features that make everyday life easier. Start your next chapter at the Canopy by City Ventures. Visit cityventures.com. That's cityventures.com.
Welcome to the Secret Passage podcast. This is kicking off our winter season. We are, it's after Christmas now when this airs.
I think the day after.
Day after Christmas. Hope everybody had a really good holiday. It's weird to say that, or really good Christmas. It's weird to say that right now because it's the 22nd for us right now. But we are fucking kicking off winter season with a heavy-duty topic. We are discussing the JonBenét Ramsey murder case from 1996, a case that I was just telling Shannon, I had said, we got to stay away from the JonBenét Ramsey case. We got to stay away from the Hayman Lee, Adnan Syed case because it's a mess, right? It's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
But this is one that, first of all, I don't know what's the anniversary. Is this the 30th?
It was 96, so it's like the 29th, I believe, 29th, right?
Yeah. 29th anniversary.
No, it's crazy. What? Is I realize you and I met right around this time. So we've been friends for almost 29 years. We met like 96, maybe 97.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, 97. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
But this is a case. It's huge. It has everything in it. I mean, there are so many different aspects to discuss with this case. I mean,
was it a pedophile? Was it a mother who lost her temper? Was it an intruder? An intruder.
Was it the father? Was it the brother?
Yeah, that had a grudge. There's all these like archetypal kinds of situations, right? That you can look at it through a lens of, pedophilia and pageantry. And then you can look at it through the lens of a smothering mother, who was using her daughter. It's really potent.
There's also the Susan Faludi kind of backlash angle of feminism with regard to JonBenét Ramsey being depicted in this very Lolita sexualized way. It's like you can make the argument that she was exploited in life through these very aggressive beauty pageants. Aggressive meaning a lot was expected of her and a lot of these other little girls in terms of their presentation and what they had to put into these things, their bodies being molded as toddlers with bleach blonde hair and like these little fake teeth and suggestive clothing, doing these kind of suggestive moves.
Oh my God. I was watching that documentary last night, the Netflix one, and it was so interesting because it was like this. It's like a Rorschach test in some ways. Like in the documentary, they were talking about her performing and all the people saying, oh, those images are sexualized. These little girls look like, and Patsy saying, like, that's like the eye of the beholder. Like that's in the eye of the beholder. They're the ones sexualizing it. And then it showed this woman on Dr. Phil. They had this, not Dr. Phil. Do you remember this? They had that episode of, what's his name? Geraldo Rivera, where they had a mock trial for for JonBenét's death. And Patsy said she was watching it. It was like, it was this woman got on there and said that JonBenét, during a performance of a Christmas song, Rocking Around the Christmas Tree, picked up a little saxophone and was dancing with the saxophone. And the woman said, oh, she picks up that saxophone and masturbates with it for another. And she wasn't.
Did it. I know.
Yeah. It's so interesting.
Yeah. Like that's great. It reminds me, the whole, it's in the eye of the beholder. That's just like when Angelina Jolie was all over her brother at the Academy Awards and she's kissing him, talking about how in love with him she is. And people were weirded out by it. And then he goes, well, you guys are weird for seeing it that way. You guys are weird. And I'm like, no, it's objectively weird.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm so,
it is
what
weird. It's
seeing
strange.
JonBenét hula hooping in a leotard, seeing her wiggle her hips. I'm not saying that Patsy was sexualizing her daughter at all. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that any of these pageant moms aren't, but you're providing chum for the sharks.
It's really interesting culturally. I was talking to somebody about it, God, in our research. So I went from telling my hairstylist a week and a half ago that I 100% do not think the parents are guilty to like 2 days ago saying, "Oh, I 100% think Patsy killed her," to now believing the intruder theory. But it's a wild little trip that you take. But I was talking to this guy who was at the salon too with me getting his eyebrows or eyelashes done, and he was like, "Yeah, it's like anachronistic, it seemed." And even in the 90s, it was just a weird, it was a, most of us are never exposed to pageant culture except for adult pageant culture.
Sure.
And this brought it like right, it was all over the television. You know how like theater like plays are too big for the big screen. Like if you see a play on a big screen or video, it's weird. Like I don't think any of us ever thought we would be that up close to the pageant world, right? It was like we don't, it's a niche. It's a little thing that people are involved in and they have their reasons for it. It's like a cultural thing. But I think the rest of us kind of in the West, not in the South, were exposed to this and it was like horrifying for a lot of us to see. But I know the chum for the sharks thing is right. I always question this though. Like should we have to curtail our behavior as human beings because we know there are psychos out there like jerking off to diaper ads or something,
No,
right? Anyway,
no, you know me. I'm
yeah.
like, I'm very, very libertarian in that. It's
Mhm.
just know what you're working with.
Mhm.
Know what you're working with. Just I will never tell anybody what the fuck to do as long
Yeah.
as it's within the constraints of the law, as long as they're, that they understand what the consequences are. I always feel weird talking like this considering my line of work, but you just got to know. You just have
Yeah.
to know. But that doesn't mean there are girls that do child beauty pageants and they grow up fine. They either completely reject that whole world because they were so entrenched in it for so long and then they go the other way,
Yeah.
or they go on with their lives and they become like a Patsy Ramsey. She went to college. A lot of people forget this. She wasn't just a fucking ex beauty queen. She was highly educated. She competed in debate. She was intelligent,
Yeah.
but she wanted a more traditional life. She married well, lived in a beautiful home, had two beautiful kids, and then this horrible thing happens. But it's not like she was just that. It's not like anybody who does beauty pageants is simply a beauty queen. It's just such a spectacle. It's hard for
It
people to see
is.
past that.
It's just we what I thought was so interesting about it was, like, it's meant for the stage, and, like, they
Mhm.
said they said the context is, like, there's, like, 20 people there watching this, but the whole world saw this, like, on a television screen, which made it more stark or something, or more of a spectacle, more circus-like. Anyway, yes, you tell the story.
Let's get into it. For those of you who need a refresher on the JonBenét Ramsey case, or those who have know nothing about it, we'll just do a quick overview. So, early on the morning of December 26th, 1996, 41-year-old Patsy Ramsey descended the spiral staircase of the family's enormous Tudor-style mansion on her way to the kitchen to make coffee. Patsy did not make it to the kitchen, however, because a long, detailed ransom letter was left on the landing, causing her to panic and immediately run to her daughter, 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey's room. She found it empty. She screamed, alerting her husband, 53-year-old John Ramsey. At this point, John took charge, reading the entirety of the 3-page letter, which demanded $118,000 in exchange for the safe return of their daughter, JonBenét. John instructed Patsy to call 911. Meanwhile, their son, 9-year-old Burke, remained asleep in his room, unaware of what was happening on the other side of the home. So, I'm going to read the ransom letter. It's not a note. It's basically a fucking essay. All right. The letter reads, Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed. And if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account, 100 bills and the remaining $20 bills, $100 bills and the remaining $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money and hence an earlier pickup of your daughter. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny, as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. Victory, SBTC. So what do? They immediately call the police.
If I got that, I probably would too, because I'd be like, who's this fucking idiot? Like, who's this freak? It doesn't sound, it sounds like it almost sounds like a prank. It's like,
well, it does. It does. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous. But when, I'll put it to you this way. Let's say Ginger's missing, your dog Ginger, and you get a letter saying, if you do anything, would you go, fuck you, I'm calling the cops?
I might. I've thought about this before. I'm like, what else do you do? Like,
what else do you do? Well, this is what, again, none of us, thank God, will ever be in this position.
I hope. Don't take my Gingy.
Call 911 and say, I got a ransom letter.
Yes.
I'm scared. It says, do not call the authorities.
Yes.
It says that they will kill my child. It says that they're watching authorities and us.
Yeah.
Please help us. She doesn't do that. She's freaking out. She says, they have my daughter, all that. And then she hangs up on 911. And minutes later, marked police cars with sirens show up at the house. They call everyone they fucking know, right? Don't talk to a stray dog. Okay, no stray dog. I'm going to call all our friends though and have them come over here.
Do you know that's a line basically straight out of a movie?
Yes. All the shit was basically straight out of a movie. So anyway, police come. Patsy gets on the horn, calls her friends, man. She needs support. You know,
I would probably call my friends too.
After the note said that they were going to behead your daughter if you talk to fucking anybody.
I just wouldn't believe that note, really, I don't think. I mean,
if your child is missing, literally missing, and you've decided that it's a joke.
But they also got their friend to go call his banker to get the money. So his friend had gone to his banker. He was going to get the $118,000 for him. So they
After
were
calling the police.
right. I mean, I kind of think, what else do you do?
You
I mean,
call 911 and you say, get the FBI on the fucking phone.
well, the FBI
Somebody.
has precedence. They're the primary investigative body for any kidnapping. So there was like
Right.
a law that passed after Lindbergh baby. And so they are the ones who have primary jurisdiction anyway. So, but
But the
right. I mean, the
FBI was,
cops,
yeah, the
yeah,
cops showed up. But the thing is Patsy never says on the phone. The instructions say that we're not supposed to call anybody. I'm fucking taking a chance calling you.
yeah, she doesn't
But
give
we're
a lot
not
of context.
supposed to fucking, the cops, I'm scared. They have my
Yeah.
daughter. I don't know where my daughter is, but we're not supposed to call you. I'm calling you, but I'm scared. What do I do? Please don't draw attention. Apparently, these people are watching you. Apparently,
It's
they're
true.
watching us and they're watching you. Please help us. Get somebody. Who can we talk to right now? No, she's like, they have my daughter. She's 6 years old. This is our address. Click.
Does she not stay on the phone with them? I feel
No,
like
she
they
hangs
talked
up
to
on
her
them.
for a while.
They talk to her. They tell her to calm down.
Uh-huh.
She's like, it's okay. We hear you. Calm down. Okay. But don't,
And
at
they
no
ask her
point,
who, yeah, they ask her for a name, and she's
they
like,
say,
yeah,
she
blah, blah,
says
blah.
SBTC. It says
Yeah.
Victory SBTC. She doesn't ever say, we're not supposed to be calling you. They threatened to behead our daughter. They're watching us, apparently. I mean, whether it's a weird schizophrenic weirdo, they don't know. Their daughter is missing. So
Yeah.
it's weird. It's weird. And John is there. John is the good Southern sensible guy. He read the note.
I think most people are so authority bound and like so I think most people would call. I mean,
Sure, but
you're
you
like,
might
who?
want to
Yeah,
give
tell.
them that detail about the fact.
Context.
You might want to say that they are threatening to fucking behead my daughter. They're threatening to behead her. I'm not supposed to be calling you, but I'm calling you. Help me out here.
What a nightmare.
Presumably with law enforcement, you guys have training in this. I don't. I'm just a fucking mom. My daughter's gone. They have my daughter.
And then, yeah, but I feel like I have to have some generosity toward them because people do not have their faculties when they're under that level of stress and panic. And so I have a hard time being super nitpicky about the way they did it because I feel like I have no freaking idea what you're even how you can even think in that moment when you're
If
just
I'm being threatened, I'm going to
yeah.
become very fucking docile. I'm going to become very fucking docile. And I'm going to go, what the fuck do I do? I'm going to freeze first, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go, I'm scared.
Yeah.
This is what the note says. Can I read the note to you? Can I read the note to you? Because I'm scared. They have my daughter. My daughter is not here. They're threatening to decapitate her. Can I
Yeah,
read you the fucking note? I'm scared.
yeah, she couldn't even it's funny, she couldn't even reference her own feelings. Like she was just like in the screaming of it, it seemed like. Like she was not in a place where she could be like, "Let me reflect on how I'm feeling right now and tell you." Like she was just kind
No,
of like, "Blah."
yeah, but also they're threatening to kill your child.
Yeah.
They're threatening to kill your child. I don't know. I don't ever want to be in that situation. Fortunately, I'm not a fucking billionaire businessman. But whatever. They call the cops. The cops show up along with all of the Ramsey's friends. And detective tells John and his friend Fleet White, go look around the house, do whatever. They find JonBenét's dead body. John carries JonBenét up after ripping the tape off her mouth. He sees she's dead, carries her up, lays her down in front of the tree.
No, Linda Arndt picks her up again and moves her toward the tree, which is
okay.
so weird. Like Linda Arndt didn't just like get everyone out of the room, stop touching the body. She didn't secure the scene at all. She picks her up again and sets her down in front of the tree, which is like a nightmare. There's like 9 people in the house at this point and Linda Arndt.
And shit's being moved around and Patsy's on the couch, understandably inconsolable. At this point, the DA has instructed Boulder PD to treat the Ramseys as victims, not as suspects, which I find interesting because statistically speaking, if a child is found dead in a home, who's the most likely perpetrator of whatever happened is usually a family member that's been in the home. But the DA who happens to be close to the Ramseys says they're victims.
Did you know that at the time the DA and the police department were at odds, and the DA hated the police department and the police department hated him, and the police
Okay.
chief ended up getting fired or getting like voted out or something because of his tight relationship with the DA. So there was like bad blood between the DA and the cops. So it was like more to add to the circus of the whole thing.
After the body's found, John Ramsey is overheard getting on the phone with his private pilot, explaining that the family will be leaving later that day for Atlanta for vacation, which is where originally they were supposed to be leaving the following morning, that morning, to go to Atlanta. And John Ramsey is told, hey, you can't leave. Like, we got this thing going on. We're trying to figure out who killed your daughter. We're trying to figure this stuff out. We were actually going to put you guys in a hotel and then question you. And John Ramsey's like, no. We want to stay with our friends, the Fernies. They're good friends of ours. But just let us do that, please. Our daughter just died. That's where we want to go. And the detective's like, okay. So they go and they stay with the Fernies, and then they are not questioned until 4 months later. So then that's kind of where we are. I mean, the case has never been solved. There's a lot of theories.
Yeah.
Leading up to this, the day before on Christmas, which was Christmas Day, it was pretty standard issue family Christmas, opening up gifts, and then going to the Whites, their friends, the Whites, for a dinner party. They got home around 9 or 10, and the stories have changed a little bit. In one version, John Ramsey read to the kids, and then Patsy put them to bed. In another version, which is probably more likely, which is Burke's version of events, the 9-year-old brother, who's been consistent the whole time, is that JonBenét was walked up the stairs. Because there's the version where she was fast asleep, she stayed asleep, her clothes were changed, she stayed asleep, put to bed, stayed asleep, was missing in the morning.
So John, one thing about that, I was listening to the prosecutors. By the way, the prosecutors podcast does a really good 9-part series on this. They were saying that information is not gospel because the information about that came from police reports, and police reports are written by police, and they're not verified by the people that give the statements, and they're just sort of like someone's notes about the event. So they were just saying like that people get really hooked into that and how the stories change and like
that's, to me, I don't think that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But Burke has always been consistent all the way through from the time that he was questioned at age 9 up to the present. And that is that she walked herself up the stairs and that she was awake. And then Patsy got her ready for bed, whatever. It should be noted, there are some things that I think are interesting. I guess we get into what we think happened. This is where things just get really fucking messy. There's so many different theories about what happened. There's the theory that Patsy killed JonBenét in a rage because JonBenét was prone to having accidents, potty accidents in her pants, in the bed, etc. And then the whole thing was a cover up. There's the theory that Burke killed her, just enraged over sibling shit, but struck her in the head with an object, and the parents are trying to cover it up. That's a very popular theory.
I totally believed that at first, especially because people said that was because she stole a piece of pineapple and he got pissed off and hit her over the head. And I was like, that is exactly how I feel when people try to eat my food.
Yeah.
Anyway,
there a lot of things that, and here's a couple things. First of all, that fracture's brutal. I don't know that he could have inflicted that on her in her skull. But also, he went to school a month after this all happened, which it just seems like if you're trying to cover for your kid, you don't send him off with the Whites, because they wake Burke up in the morning of the 26th once everything's happened, and they immediately send him off with their friends to just be away from the chaos at the house. Mm-hmm. You don't do that if your kid killed his sister. your 9-year-old kid that is going to talk
Yeah,
and talk about what happened. Hey, what's going on? Is this because I hit JonBenét?
that's a good
Whatever.
point. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Like, I'm not doing that if I've got like a chatty, or not even chatty, but like a 9-year-old child that I'm trying to, you want to keep them close to you and distracted and quiet. So like a month after all this, he's sent back to public school. So that's another weird thing. I've never believed that Burke did it. I remember, I mean, when the theory first came around, I'm like, and again, this is that thing where you just, you want to believe that this is all innocent in a way, because otherwise it gets really dark and really scary.
Well,
You know,
this is where people started going crazy with it, right? Like talking about there were rumors that he had problems with smearing poop on walls and this sort of
that's
pain.
never been proven though,
I
that
know.
he smeared shit. I
But I
don't
think
think
that's
so.
what like led. I think people just had, well, for whatever reason, this case just evoked so much in people, and they really started painting this family as totally dysfunctional and sick and twisted, which
So
I
your
believe.
typical American family.
Right. Right. I mean, all families are weird, I think,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
There are so many. What I love to, my preoccupation with the Gothic genre, and this is such a perfect Gothic
Mhm.
story in some ways, down to the house, down to this
Oh,
bizarre Tudor style mansion
like Dollhouse.
that manages to be both really big and claustrophobic at the same time. With that, you've got the secret attic, or the secret wine cellar that's not really a wine cellar, it's a storage area that's like locked, which is where she is found. You have the fact that it's a classic Tudor, but then they had these modern add-on things to the
Yeah.
house that were kind of made it look a little discombobulated in a way.
It reminds me of like it blends. So they were fishes out of water. They were from Atlanta. Atlanta was their home. That's where their people were. And they were here because of the business. And
Mhm.
her dad was actually working with them. Her dad was a part of the company. And I think he was still in Atlanta. I can imagine like Boulder is totally crunchy and totally West. The West and the
Mhm.
South are very different in terms of lore, in terms of culture. And I learned that the house they added on the third level their own bedroom, like a master bedroom.
So the whole top level is their room,
Yeah, and then
basically.
she was on the other side of the house on the first floor. So you could barely hear anything if you couldn't hear anything if there was anything going on over there. But in their kitchen, so there were lots of points of entry, and there was this door that went from the outside to the kitchen, and they called it like a butler's door or something. And it reminded me of like the South, so it's got this sort of southern, they're displaced and they're put in this place of the West. And I feel like Westerners were responding to them with like a West kind of mind, right? They were like, I think that's why maybe a lot of people were like, this family's weird.
Well,
Because
the
yeah.
pageants
Mhm.
alone are strange. So the
Yeah.
family is going to come under scrutiny.
Yeah.
Families come under scrutiny whenever a child dies. A family will come under scrutiny, and
That's
it's
true.
understandable. But you add to that these other elements, and also that whole, the eat the rich mentality. When bad things happen to really, really, really wealthy people, there is a little bit of almost like a Schadenfreude type thing, like, you
Yeah.
hate to see it,
Yeah.
oh, couldn't happen to nicer people. Assuming that they're terrible because, I mean, they were rich, rich. Like, he had a private plane, he had a big boat, like a yacht type thing. It's a lot of it is wealth that's hard for us to conceive of, especially in the 90s. Like, he was a billionaire in the 90s, wasn't he?
Well, it was the very beginning of the dot-com boom.
Right.
And I don't know if he was a billionaire, but they were very, very rich. But I think you're right. I think like our Gothic sensibilities got projected onto that family. Like we peel back the layer of propriety and manners and Southern, charm and whatever. And you have this sick, twisted, incestuous family, you know?
Yeah.
And people just ran with that.
Yeah, exactly. No, you've got the Lolita daughter. You've got the freak of Burke, because he was seen as weird. So
Poor
you've
Burke.
got the freak, right? Then you've got the Lolita. You've got the faded Southern belle of Patsy, and then you have this like they kind of presented him in this, oh, what's his face? The movie The Aviator, Howard Hughes type projection onto John. And it's like everyone loves a good story.
Yeah.
And everyone is projecting onto them all of these things.
Hmm.
So I just remember, it's interesting because when you and I were talking about JonBenét, I was thinking back to when I first became aware of this case and people's reaction, people around me, their reaction to the case, because she was on every magazine cover at that time, on People magazine. And the pictures they chose to use, of course, are pageant pictures where it's uncomfortable to know that a little girl was murdered and there was some talk that she was sexually assaulted before she was murdered. And then the pictures you choose to show are of her with like grown-up makeup on.
Mm-hmm.
Here she is, looking unreal, looking like a doll. And I just remember this classmate of mine saw that and was like, ugh, something like, look at her, she's so annoying. And I'm like, she's dead. She's dead, dude. It's just weird to me. I remember just feeling uncomfortable because in my mind, I'm like, she's was exploited. And you can, again, when I say that, I'm not trying to malign Patsy. Patsy came from that. That was Patsy's culture. She came from beauty pageants. I really don't think she ever meant to put JonBenét out there for this kind of public consumption.
Yeah, because if you look at it, there's a lens. This whole thing is like this. There's a lens to see that behavior through that's wholesome. Like, she'll learn how to perform. She'll learn how to dance. She'll learn how to speak. She'll learn how, like, there's all this stuff she could learn by being in pageant. She'll learn how to, lose and be a good loser. She'll learn how to win and be a good winner. She'll learn how to get along with the other girls and support the other girls. So I don't know. It's like there's the way to look at it is though it's this totally innocent, if naive kind of like be stuff, or this totally narcissistic, like mini me, forcing her to do it. And like, it's hard, so, and I think people analyzed it both ways, but for the large part, I heard more criticisms than I heard support.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And for Patsy coming from that, it worked out for her. Like that's another perspective with which to view this is that was Patsy's trajectory. It worked out for her.
Yeah.
She took her some of her beauty queen winnings and it paid for her education. She met and married John Ramsey, and she had this incredible life. And for her, that's succeeding. For a lot of people, that's succeeding. If you have traditional values, which it appears by all accounts she did, and John Ramsey did as well. Well, this, of course, is a path that she would want to clear for her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
She would want her daughter to have the same experience she did because it worked out for her. And so, yeah, whether you agree with that or not, I think I absolutely believe that Patsy entered into this with the best of intentions.
Yeah, and they were talking about this in the latest Netflix documentary, how this is an interesting, really sad, tragic timeline that I wrote down. It's hard to piece all this stuff together, but so this is their family timeline.
Okay.
So Beth died, John's daughter, in 1992.
His oldest daughter, right?
Yeah, his oldest daughter died in a car accident in 1992. I think JonBenét was like 1 at that time. Then Patsy got cancer in 1993. And they did her treatments for a full year. And it was like, we will kill you, basically, kinds of treatments to try to kill the cancer. And they were saying how the reason she went so full force into like shaping her kids and doing the pageants and all that stuff was because she didn't know how long she would be around for. And she thought to live to be able to raise her kids in the way that she wanted to raise them. But if you look at that, it's such a condensed timeline. 92, John loses his oldest daughter. 93, she gets cancer. They do that till 94. 96 is when JonBenét is killed. So it's just like tragedy after tragedy after tragedy.
And then Patsy died 10 years later, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can see how, like, perhaps she was going heavy on the let me show up in this way and have my kid do this thing because either she wanted to make a mark, have an influence, raise her kid the way she wanted to. So I don't know if people have the critique that like they felt like Patsy was forcing her to do it. And I guess that sort of softened me a little bit about around that because I could maybe feel her sort of desperation to mother, while she
And her
could.
anxiety
Yeah.
around it, because and any frustration that she might have experienced with JonBenét struggling,
Yeah. Yeah.
so there's a world in which, for those that believe that Patsy could have accidentally killed her daughter, that frustration was born out of a lot of things.
Yeah.
I will never believe that she intentionally killed her child. If anyone in the family is responsible, I 100% do not think that Burke is responsible. But if anybody in the family is responsible, I do not believe for a second that it was intentional.
Yeah.
All that said, we should point out some things. JonBenét was struggling with toileting, meaning that she was having a lot of accidents. Accidents that, honestly, to me, as a parent who's been through toilet training and potty train, all that kind of stuff, been around girls who were potty training, her toileting was strange. Her accidents were, it seemed to go in a direction that seemed to indicate that something was wrong. Whether that be that she was being sexually abused, or that she was being abused, or something was happening that was causing, she was
Or
getting UTIs and vaginitis at the age of 6.
I wonder if the cancer had an influence on any of that. But yeah.
Like the anxiety.
Hmm.
If Patsy's anxious, I know that she was a very theatrical woman. And so probably any feelings that she may have been experiencing were just really demonstrated, or.
And poop can be about control. I was talking to my eyebrow person, and she was like, "Yeah, when I was going through my divorce, my son would just hold in his poo, like he would, and because he was something he could
Anxious.
control." Yeah,
Oh, yeah. So JonBenét was having situations where she would have like a clump of poop in her bed, which is weird, right? Struggling with wiping. It was notable to one of the examiners that all of JonBenét's underpants were like heavily stained, indicating a real difficulty with taking care of herself. So it's notable, I think, that there were issues with her with her potty. I'll call it potty training, because it's a learning thing and an adapting thing. So even though she was 6 years old and wearing underpants, she wasn't in pull-ups, she wasn't in diapers, anything like that. She was wearing underpants. This was a struggle for her, and she was experiencing issues. I was diving into like the autopsy stuff and the examination of her vagina and the kind of damage there, whether her hymen was broken due to sexual abuse or due to maybe aggressive wiping. Something aggressive was happening down there. Doesn't mean that she was being molested.
yeah. So who said she had vaginitis? So her pediatrician said that he absolutely unequivocally said there was no abuse in that family, and he'd examined her and stuff like that. So who said that she was getting vaginitis?
It was in
Oh, was it in that one we listened to, that podcast? I think it might have been. So but they knew that she had like previous injuries that were chronic, not acute. That's what I read in something, that some doctors were saying, no, this is sexual abuse, and some doctors were like, this could have come from wiping.
yeah. So it's that's when I say it's inconclusive.
Yeah.
Like,
We've all had that cheap toilet paper before.
it could. I mean, so
But yeah,
maybe, just maybe, I'm going to throw this out there. Maybe, just maybe, you're a mother. You survived cancer. The cancer may come back. You have this child you want to set up for success. The child keeps struggling with bathroom stuff. Maybe the child is feeling your anxiety and is struggling. You're not a psychologist. You don't fucking know. You just know that you want to set her up, and she
Yeah.
keeps fucking up. You've got a lot of things going on inside. You're exasperated. You're like, JonBenét, how many times do I have to fucking tell you you have to fucking wipe? Maybe. Again, I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility that you get fucking frustrated. You're tired. This is exhausting. Why is she being willful? Doesn't she understand? You're trying,
Parents get weird about toilet stuff because of their own stuff about their toilet stuff and
sure.
all that, and control and all that. Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of things going on, and I'm not going to sit here and try, and because I feel bad for Patsy. I feel bad that the whole family went through this, but that said, she was a human being, and under a
Yeah.
microscope, a lot of us have done some stuff that maybe we wish we hadn't.
Mm.
But it could be in a moment of being frustrated. You're aggressively wiping. On top of that, she's probably getting infections because the poop is getting in there. You know what I mean?
And
Like
pee and yeah.
all that, because she's sitting in it. She's sitting in like a wet underpants maybe sometimes because she doesn't want to tell her mom that she had an accident because her mom's gonna get mad at her.
Mhm.
And already she's got a lot going on because fucking in 1996 alone, JonBenét competed in 7 beauty pageants. That's a lot for like a 6-year-old because she turned 6 in August. But that's a lot of discipline, and that's a lot of traveling because most of these pageants were outside of Colorado, obviously, because Colorado is not a beauty pageant place. There's a lot going on, and so that's a thought, but that is something that was happening. That was something that was happening at home.
Mhm.
And John was traveling a lot. He was busy, he was working. And I think it's worth mentioning. You can take it with a grain of salt or not, but the housekeeper thought that Patsy was a very strange person and was described as seeming to have multiple personalities, which could mean anything from just mood swings. I
Right,
take
just
that as a
moody.
mood swings, not like multiple personality disorder where she's Patsy one minute and Eleanor the next, and you know what I mean. Like, I take it as a mood swings, which would make sense if you are a woman of a certain age, potentially entering into hormonal shifts, on top of having gone through fucking chemotherapy, on top of trying to manage her husband's life as well. He counted on Patsy to run a smooth ship.
Yeah, and people, it's funny, people that close to your life really see maybe a different side of you than the world sees,
Sure.
and they see, like, your messes, the way you are with your kids, they see, so it's funny. For me, I'm like, take these things with a grain of salt because somebody who comes from a totally different world from me, who comes into my house and my life might look at me and be like, "What a freaking weirdo." But yeah, I mean, that was part of the whole put this in that bucket, the bucket of like this person's unpredictable, this person's a narcissist, this person, is forcing her child to do all that. That's these are all the Patsy stories, the narrative that got sort of spun around her, right?
Right.
By her help, by the people who were her hired to help her. And I just think of them. I think about how powerless I would feel if something like this happened to me and I was innocent. And then everybody in my life's going around talking shit about me like, "She's weird, she's moody, she's," and, like, you just can't control the narrative. Like, there are just people who are gonna like Linda Arndt, who I think is just absolutely deranged and, like, so unprofessional as a police officer to share her experience of John Ramsey in one of his most deeply traumatic experiences. Apparently, like, when he was holding JonBenét laid her down on the ground and looked up at Linda Arndt, and Linda Arndt said, "At that moment, I felt like I wanted to grab my weapon because wasn't sure any of us were walking out of that room alive," or something like that, because she saw a look in John's face. And I was listening to the prosecutors, and Alice totally nailed it. She's like, "If my kid was dead and I looked at you with murder in my eyes, that's because I probably would have murder in my eyes." And not because I want to murder you, but because I'm so anguished and angry about this situation. So Linda Arndt converts that into like John's guilty and then makes the rounds on television talking about, how she knows for sure John killed the kid. And it's just like, oh my God, like they just, it was just seems like it was so botched from the beginning. And then
Yeah.
then the court of public opinion, then all these people who feel free to speak in such unprofessional ways. Like as a cop, when you're making any kind of testimony, you're supposed to be just the facts. You're not insert your subjective experience of someone, which probably says more about you than the person you're talking about. So I just feel like that was so awful of her. Anyway, I had to express my anger there.
Yeah. Also, if your impulse is to grab your weapon because a man who just lost his daughter is looking at you,
Get a new job.
you probably should not be armed. Yeah.
Should we talk about like the theories?
Oh my God, yes. We have to. I yesterday alone. I mean, where I've gone around and around and around, and everything comes back to that fucking note.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the essay. The did you, so apparently on the notepad, and I've seen this before, there was, it originally started as Mr. and Mrs. Ramsey.
Yes. Do you want me to tell you what I learned from the prosecutors about the note?
Sure.
Okay. So, you know how we've heard like, oh, they couldn't rule out Patsy? Well, like two of the cops experts said, I can find no evidence that Patsy Ramsey disguised her handprinting exemplars when I compare the handwriting with Patsy in the ransom note. Some letter formations appear. I'm unable to ID Patsy as author of ransom note with any degree of certainty. And it also says I'm unable to eliminate her. That's Leonard Specht, maybe Specht, I don't know. And then Edwin, a police expert, said her handwriting exemplars failed to provide a basis for IDing Patricia Ramsey as the author of the letter.
Okay.
But they do have like a typographical A in it, you know, like she uses a typographical A when she writes an A, like on a typewriter. And they said within the note there is a typographical A, but it's not consistent throughout, so it changes throughout.
And I have these. So when these habitually repeated and identifiable characteristics were compared to known handwriting samples of Patsy Ramsey, then there's exhibits 2 through 10, overwhelmingly agreement was found to exist to such an extent that they cannot be attributed to mere chance. Accordingly, it has been determined that Patsy Ramsey is the writer of the ransom note. This is Larry Ziegler, forensic examiner of forensic documents. He's a retired FBI examiner.
Oh, that's interesting.
There is no doubt that Patsy Ramsey is the author of the ransom note. Gideon Epstein, MFS, forensic document examiner. It is the opinion of this examiner with a reasonable degree of scientific certainty that it is very highly probable the 3-page ransom note was authored by the same author purported to be that of Patsy Ramsey, Donald L. Lucy, CDE certified forensic document examiner. It is highly probable that Patsy Ramsey wrote the ransom note. Sina L. Wong, court certified, board certified document examiner. Goes on.
Yeah, well, they have a bunch of ones that say that she didn't. So I think this is like the battle of the experts in terms of this case in a lot of ways too. Like with the well, the cause of death is kind of agreed upon, but then some people argue that the head wound came first, and some people argue that it didn't. And
I hope the head wound came first because that means that she was knocked unconscious right away.
So I looked that up, and so somebody said that like how would a wound like that not create blood spatter or skin splitting? So based on some science that I read, they said that it could have come from a whack on the head, basically with like a bat, and there was that bat that was found outside with fibers from the basement. There's also the flashlight, but that didn't. But they said that it could. And a kid could do it. They said like an older child could probably do it with the force that could do that because of the head, her age, and the skin is pliable, so the skin may not split. But they said that maybe the choking stopped the flow of blood to the head, so it wasn't as messy or exploded or bloody as it could have been. Like if the blood was still pumping. So I don't know, but I hope it came first too, because that's awful.
Right. And all of the stuff like the petechial hemorrhaging and stuff like that in her eyes, etc., could happen while she was unconscious. because
Yes.
she was still alive. It just has to do
Yes.
with being alive. But also when you look at the fucking the autopsy pictures are available online, which seems so strange, but at the same time it was helpful,
Mhm.
when we were doing research for this, to be able to see what her skull looked like.
Yeah. Oh, it's disturbing to see I think it's like 8 inches long.
Yeah, it's pretty big. It's pretty big. And basically her skull was caved in, but it wasn't immediately apparent when finding the body, etc.
Right, because the skin didn't split, there was no spray, and her hair was covering it.
Right.
Mhm.
There's a lot of debate about the supposed garrote, that it wasn't really a garrote in the traditional sense. I kept trying to find more consistent information,
Yeah.
so like what came first, the strangulation or the caved in skull. What was the binding of her hands really done like as a sadomasochistic thing, or was it because the binding wasn't like around her wrists, was very loose, and even the strangulation, it looks worse than it actually was because of the edema that set in. So her neck kind of expanded so that the rope was embedded, but the inside portion wasn't it wasn't aggressive strangulation, kind of. It was simply that her skin expanded. So anything that happens after her skull fracture, anything light pressure, heavy pressure, barely any pressure, is going to result in a type of strangulation because of the edema. So there will be strangulation. But even in the report, it says strangulation with the addition of the skull fracture or whatever. Like both things essentially are what killed her.
Yeah, they said that well, I think the petechial hemorrhaging implies, like, force.
Well, that would make
Yeah,
sense just with
yeah.
regardless.
I think I wonder if she was just brain dead and then they kinda, like, did this next step because of whatever, but it's hard to know because they ruined the entire scene. They picked her up and carried her off, and who knows what got untied and loosened, and,
Right.
there's just no way to know, I think, at this point. Like,
Yeah.
ugh,
Everything, it's now it really is just all speculation.
except for the DNA.
Yeah. I hope they test it at some point. I don't know what they're
They are
waiting for.
testing it. Well, they said they have new evidence, and they're testing the DNA that was found on 3 different spots on her body, intermingled with her blood, on her waistband of her underwear. It's the same DNA on the waistband, mixed in with her blood in the crotch area and somewhere else, and it's unknown male DNA. And it's the same male DNA in 3 different places, which makes them feel like, okay, 3 different places. This might be a little more than like a guy who manufactured the underwear or handled the underwear.
So 3 different places in the underwear?
Yeah. So on the waistband, let me see. I think I wrote
On the
this down.
waistband, the crotch, and then a third spot.
Saliva spot. There's a saliva spot, they think, because they tested for amylase and they think there was enough to say this is saliva, not like skin cells or something. I can look it up, but it is 3 different places, and that's what makes them that's the real only piece of evidence that people, like, rely upon for the theory of the intruder because it's the only Oh god, can I tell you this thing that Brett said on the prosecutors?
Sure.
So he started the episode with this, riddle. So I'm gonna tell you the riddle, and you tell me what you think. A woman is at her mother's funeral, a young woman. While she's there, she meets a man she doesn't know and falls madly in love with him. Weird at your mom's funeral, but she falls madly in love with him, but she never gets to get his name or number, and after the funeral, she can't find him again. A few days later, she kills her sister. Why does she kill her sister?
To get his information.
How would killing her sister get his information?
Okay, so she gets she falls in love with the man at the funeral, doesn't get his name.
When I heard it, I was like, oh, because maybe that's her sister's boyfriend, or maybe that's her.
Yeah, because there's was the sister at the funeral? Like who was
Here's the answer.
What?
Because then she knows he'll probably show up at the funeral.
Well, that was exactly that. I figured that would be why, right? But I wasn't sure how he was connected.
So this is a psychopath test. So a psychopath would answer, oh, she killed her sister because she's using her sister because she knows he'll show up to the funeral. It's likely he'll show up to the funeral. So Brett is basically using that to illustrate how hard it is for us to think like a psychopath. But he actually told a lawyer friend of his about this. And his lawyer friend just looked at him and was like, oh, because then there'd be another funeral and he might show up. And Brett was like, oh my God, he's a psychopath. But he was saying like, it's also logic. It's also like, you're only making a guess about this thing based on the evidence you have. So only based on the evidence you have, that's the only conclusion. That's the conclusion you can draw. And that's what
the weird thing is that may be a psychopath test, but I think we all come to the same conclusion, which is the only reason why she would kill her sister, for whatever reason, it's to see that guy again.
Well, yeah, we know that.
However that happens, yeah.
Right, but most people would say something like, oh, because they'd make up a story that was, like, more emotionally laden or something. Like, they'd say, oh, well, there's probably a variety of things people would say. Like, my thing was, oh, is it her sister's boyfriend? Or is it her sister's ex-husband? Or, something like that. But it's just if you can only use that evidence, it's the only thing you can come up with. So I think the people who think like me, who think it's the intruder theory, I think the DNA is the main reason, because it's the only piece of physical evidence that they haven't really examined yet. And once they can rule that person out, then I think, you'll know something. But basically it says, trace DNA from an unknown male is found mixed with JonBenét's blood in her underwear and under her fingernails. The DNA has been tested multiple times and definitely excludes the entire Ramsey family. The DA, Mary Lacey, publicly exonerated the Ramseys based on that DNA. Under her fingernails, on her underwear, and on her long johns. So a small spot of blood in the crotch area contained unidentified male DNA mixed with JonBenét's blood.
So you could say that this unknown male DNA could be from manufacturing. Under her nails, because she's 6 years old, she's scratching herself, whatever. On her long johns, transferred from the underwear to the long johns. Just throwing it out there as a possibility.
Yeah, I don't think this is touch DNA. This is definitely like, yeah. And there's some saliva, they say. So it could be like a guy, and maybe they weren't washed, they were new.
These were the underwear that were in the packaging. Like they hadn't even been washed yet. These were the underwear that was originally intended as a gift.
I think so. That someone put on her. I don't know if the long johns and the underwear are the same thing, honestly. But I know she had on these things that were way too big.
She had underpants, yeah.
Yeah, way too big.
So she had on the underpants, and then she had on the long johns over those, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's how she was found.
But the cops definitely the new leadership at the department has come forward with a statement that sounds kind of cryptic. Like they're saying there's new evidence and the people involved, you should reach out to us. So the people, not the person. So I think they have something at this point, because they've finally got the technology to put these minuscule pieces of DNA together and come up with some sort of profile. And they're doing genetic testing instead of running it through CODIS, which is more effective probably. So who knows? We may have some kind of answer. It could be some guy in China who made the underwear. No. Right? I mean, that would be good to know, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, why the fuck has it taken them so long to get all this done? I mean, I know the technology moves.
I hear conflicting things about how the sample that they have is enough.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't enough back then.
But even now, that it's a situation where it may not be enough.
Yeah. It was weird they made an announcement. Like they made one last year about it.
They keep making announcements. I don't fucking know. What is your theory?
Hey everyone, I am just popping on here to say that this is the conclusion of part 1 of our JonBenét series. Please join us next week for part 2.